Have you ever heard a calling to enter sacred space, to simplify and slow down for a while, so that you might walk in alignment with heavenly cycles? Would you like to hear your inner voice and the timeless advice of a true sage? Hello, I'm Colin, and I designed the Hexatetraglyph to be a map for this exact type of spiritual pilgrimage. I spend my time teaching seekers how to navigate its symbolic terrain. If you're ready to commit to an archetypal journey toward personal insight and wholeness, or simply curious of what it entails, welcome to this lesson. Before we begin, you will benefit by becoming familiar with the ancient Chinese oracle known as the I Ching. You do not need to be an expert. Having a basic understanding of such concepts of yin and yang and knowing how to look up a hexagram is sufficient for now. Yin, receptive, dark, yielding, represented by a broken line. Yang, active, bright, firm, represented by a single solid line. Hexagram, a figure composed of 6 stacked horizontal lines, each line either yin or yang. There are 64 possible variations. Traditional methods. For millennia, the I Ching has been accessed through sacred ritual. The ancient techniques used by shamans involved the cracking of oracle bones. Today, practitioners prefer sorting yarrow sticks and casting coins. Walking to a hexagram. The Hexatetraglyph invites you to spend 27 days traversing a symbolic map of the oracle. This process is like a sacred pilgrimage, but in your own home. Along the way, you'll encounter every tarot card in a standard deck. You'll also seek guidance from the planets and zodiac signs. A personal journal will be kept, and each day it will increase with personal insights. On the final day, the unique path you have traveled will determine and reveal the hexagram that has been awaiting you all along. Rather than casting the I Ching, you traverse its landscape to encounter the sage. Before you begin, gather the following. Purchase a Hexatetraglyph Oracle Board online. See the links in the video description, or you may also email me for a free PDF version of the board that you can print for personal use only. You'll also need a notebook or a journal, a copy of the I Ching, a tarot deck, and 2 coins, which are optional. The journey begins at position A. Every position has a yin and a yang side. In total, you will travel across 26 of these movement positions. You will recognize them as the tiles labeled A through Z. Each day you will traverse one of these positions before reaching a hexagram on the final 27th day. Movement takes place in 4 directions on the board. When you move left or downward, you are traveling in the yin direction. Conversely, right and upward is yang movement. By the time you have reached a hexagram at your destination, you will have completed 6 pathways. These are important groups of movement positions. Each time you complete one of these segments of the board, you construct a hexagram line, building your final glyph from the bottom line up. All of the hexagrams of the I Ching are printed on the Hexatetraglyph Oracle Board. These represent the 64 possible destinations. The culmination of your journey is the discovery of a hexagram that you will have been moving towards the whole time. The pathways completed and directions travel ultimately determine this outcome. As you enter this sacred space for the upcoming lunar month, it's good to first take a moment to ground yourself and honor your intentions. Maybe even use your journal to capture any thoughts or feelings that arise. While astrology is an important part of this process, there is no need to be a master. To begin, simply find a good website where you can pull up an astrological chart, identify the planets, and the signs they are placed within. A brief familiarization with these glyphs and their symbolic meanings is all you need to get started. However, if you would like to go deeper, there are some helpful links in this video's description. In the animation shown, you'll notice the moon transits all 12 zodiac signs. The moon, being the fastest planet, makes this full journey within 27 days. Now you can better visualize how your journey will be synchronized with the moon's movement. There are situations where your movement could become stuck. To resolve these situations, you will need an intervening force. That is why we have a tiebreaker method. Before the journey begins, you will need to close your eyes and draw one planetary token from a small bowl. Place the token at the center of the board. Decide if the planet better represents yin or yang energy. The energetic state it represents will now act as a tiebreaker if needed. You may return the token to the bowl, or you can leave it at the center until day 26. That is entirely your preference. This topic will be covered in greater detail later. Take a moment now to clear your mind, thinking only of your intentions. Shuffling is an act of meditation. I suggest you use a fully illustrated 78 card tarot deck here and avoid the Marseille style. You will only shuffle one time throughout the 27 days. For that reason, make sure the order of the cards feels good to you before proceeding. Now with those preparations out of the way, the true journey begins. Day 1, position A. Close your eyes, reach into the bowl, and draw 2 planetary tokens. Each time you draw 2 planets, you then must classify them. Study the planets until you can determine which one better represents yin energy and which one better represents yang energy. The sun is obviously more yang, and the moon is clearly more yin. That's an easy assessment. However, comparing planets of the same polarity, like Venus and the moon, which are both yin, requires your subjective judgment. Consider their transiting signs to help you gain a broader perspective. Use your best reasoning skills, but ultimately, you must trust your gut instinct. Both planets that you drew today hold symbolic meaning. Consider that meaning. Think about how each of them might inspire a journaling topic for the day, and select the one that appeals to you most for that purpose. Look now at a current astrological chart and find the planet you selected. Determine which sign it falls within. Once you've done that, try to understand the symbolic meaning the planet offers at this moment in this sign. Based on your interpretation of the planet and sign, begin crafting a journaling topic for today. Example: the sun in Cancer. Where do I shine? What can I do to feel more authentic, confident, and true to myself today? It's now time to draw your first 3 tarot cards. Consider these cards your helpers. Seek their advice. If they do not offer any insights, simply avoid using them in your journaling. In your journal, be sure to annotate the board position you are on today, the planet you used, the energy it represents, and the 3 cards that were drawn. Ensure you take note of any card reversals and note any cards that you did not find helpful. If any other details seem important to you, go ahead and write those details in your journal as well. Now think about the planet you worked with today. Does it represent yin or yang energy, in your opinion? In this example, you see the sun was used. It represents yang energy. This important detail determines whether you will now place your 3 used cards at the top right or bottom left corner of the board. If your planet represents yang energy, place the 3 cards at the top right corner. If your planet represents yin energy, place the 3 cards at the bottom left of the board. Excellent work! This concludes the process for day 1. Simply remember to return your planetary token to the bowl so you will be prepared for another draw tomorrow. As you progress to position B, you now grasp the process. Day 2 essentially involves repeating what you just learned. Let's thoroughly review everything once more though, because I want to ensure the steps are burned into your memory. The first step is drawing your 2 planetary tokens, followed by classifying the planets according to their yin or yang energies. Example shown: Mars is yang, while Venus is yin. Next, you will select a planet to inspire your journaling topic. In the example, Venus is chosen. As you can see, the planet, Venus, is now found on a current astrological chart. So you'll need to access a website where you can find a current astrological chart and find the planet that you've chosen for the day. Study the planet and the sign it is positioned within. Try to get a grasp on the symbolic meaning of this astrological condition, this combination of planet and sign. Once you feel you have a grasp on the situation, create a journaling topic based on your interpretation. Now your journaling topic has been crafted, you will draw 3 new tarot cards. These cards are here to assist you in your writing. Remember to only use them if you find them helpful. If they fail to offer insights, or if they are in a reversed position, meaning the card is upside down when you draw it, be sure to take notes of those details. Take as long as you would like to write something in your journal. There are no right or wrong methods here. Simply write whatever comes to mind. Once you're done utilizing the cards, you will place them at either the upper right or lower left corner of the board. Where you place them is determined by the yin or yang polarity of the planet that you worked with today. In this case, Venus. You can see that in the example. Venus was chosen and classified as yin. Therefore, the cards are placed at the bottom left corner of the board. Once that's complete, simply return your token, and 2 days of your journey are now done. Each day, you will continue to advance by 1 position. The process essentially remains the same throughout the rest of the journey, with only a few exceptions. Once you complete day 7, which is position G, you will need to determine whether you will travel along the upper or lower side of pathway 2. This determination is made by counting and comparing the number of accumulated cards within 2 piles. This is your upper right yang cards versus your lower left yin cards. If you have a greater number of yang cards, you will travel along the upper second pathway. If you have a greater number of yin cards, you will travel along the lower second pathway. Once you've completed day 7, position G, you will transition onto pathway 2. You will now shift from following the vertical pathway to following a horizontal one. During your first 7 days, you will have used and collected a total of 21 tarot cards. Notice in the example shown, there are 6 yin cards at the bottom left corner of the board and 15 yang cards at the upper right side. That's a total of 21 cards that have accumulated so far. Recall that the upper side of the board corresponds to yang energy. Therefore, in this situation, the upper side of the pathway would be the appropriate way to travel. This is the result of choosing to work with yang planets more often than yin planets. The number of cards collected reflects those choices. Once you make the determination of which pathway to travel on, go ahead and discard all of the cards that have been used and collected thus far. That is to say, set the collected cards aside and do not use them again until your journey is complete. On your 8th day of traveling, you will reach position H. Because you are now on the horizontal axis, the yin planetary token will be placed on the left side of the position, and the yang token will go on the right side. This is always the case, so long as you're traveling on the horizontal axis. Now the process will remain the same at each position H through O. After O has been completed on day 15, once again you will need to tally your yin and yang cards and make a determination just like you did here on day 7, position G. Now that you understand the basic method for walking across the hexatetraglyph, you know what to do when you reach the end of a pathway and it branches outward. Simply tally your accumulated yin and yang cards and compare them to determine your next pathway. At positions G, O, S, W, and Y, you will need to tally your yin and yang cards and make a comparison between those two. Sometimes when you make this comparison, you will find that you have the same number of yin cards versus yang cards. You have a tie. And in this case, you need a method to have a tiebreaker. Fortunately, before you started on your journey, you drew a token and placed it at the center of the board. So in this situation, you would look to that token and determine, is that token yin or yang? If that token is yang, such as the sun, you will break a tie in the yang direction. If it is a yin token, such as the moon, you will break the tie in a yin direction. If you have Mercury in the center, that's a neutral planet, so it cannot break a tie on its own. In this case, you would need to look at an astrological chart and see where is Mercury at this time. If it is in a yang sign, then it will be considered a yang planet. If it is in a yin sign, then it will be a yin planet. To keep this presentation short, I will not go into depth here about rule variations. I hope to make more video presentations in the future to cover these. That said, you can pause the video here and read this information about the topic. Hopefully it will offer you some ideas on how to modify the process to your liking. Now that you have completed position G, let's take a look at positions O, W, Y, and Z. All of these junction positions work in a similar way. This animation simply shows how the pathways are connected by junction positions. G connects the vertical pathway 1 with the horizontal pathway 2. But you'll also notice that position Z is somewhat different than the others. Position Z is a pathway itself. So once you reach Z, you make a choice. Do you want to work with a yin planet or a yang planet? The yin planet will be on your left, the yang planet will be on your right. That single choice will move you across an entire pathway and ultimately bring you to your destination, a hexagram. So that's a very important position and different than all the others on the board. That being said, it fundamentally functions just like any other position on the board. I've included a short example on what it looks like when you reach position Z. You can follow along. If when you reach position Z, you have a tiebreaker token still sitting at the center position of the board, you can actually decide to use that token here with a rule variation. The way that works is, before you draw your planetary tokens, pick up your tiebreaker token and hold it in your hand. Now, rather than drawing 2 planetary tokens like you typically do, only draw 1. Therefore, you will still have 2 planetary tokens. However, one of them is your tiebreaker. If the tiebreaker token has been sitting at the center of the board throughout this entire journey, you will not have used it. It will not have been included in your journaling. Therefore, now is your opportunity to pick this token out of the center and include it in your journaling if you would like to. Day 27, you will reach your destination. Congratulations! Now you have walked the path of the Hexatetraglyph. It's time to meet the sage. The hexagram printed at your destination can be found in the I Ching. Take time to study this symbol. Use multiple sources to do your research. Over the coming weeks, you will benefit from reviewing your journal with the advice from the hexagram in mind. I have animated a full 27-day journey across the Hexatetraglyph. In this example, every tarot card is drawn, all 78. You will notice that once position Z has been completed, no tarot cards remain. In the process, the moon will have gone through all 12 zodiac signs, and one of 64 I Ching hexagrams will have been realized. Feel free to stop or pause or slow down this animation at any time. It's going to go very quickly, but it will give you an idea of what a full journey looks like. So get prepared to watch this 27-day journey in under 4 minutes. Now I just want to thank you so much for your time and for your interest in the Hexatetraglyph. Building and sharing this system has been a profound labor of love for me, and it's an honor to welcome you into this practice. If you've already purchased a board or printed one, your journey begins maybe with the very next lunar cycle. Just clear your space, prepare your journal, and step across that threshold. If you do not have a board yet, but feel the pull of the landscape, if you hear that calling, you can find a link to my Etsy shop, Hexatetraglyph, in the description below. Also remember, you can email me and I'm happy to send you a free PDF copy for your personal use. For everyone looking to explore deeper, I've also included some links to extra resources, reading lists for the I Ching and Astrology, and some video links that I've used to help me in my journey. I've also provided some community spaces where you can connect with fellow seekers, and hopefully we can build a little community around this. With that, may your path be illuminated by truth and goodness. And remember, as above, so below. Take care, my fellow seeker, and I will see you in the next lesson.